Rosamund, can we start with what the casting process with David Fincher was like and how you felt when you'd landed the role?
Yes, casting with David is always rather mysterious, but also you feel you have a very protected line of communication with him. In fact, it was a rare occasion where I felt I knew more about what was going on than the sort of wider film community, because there's so much rumour around casting of a film like this. And actually, after the first couple of Skype calls, Fincher and I continued our line of communication almost in secret, to the point that I flew to St. Louis for our sort of face-to-face meeting completely without anybody, including my agent, knowing that I'd gone, which feels very exciting. And, you know, there was always a doubt in my mind as to whether he was sort of meeting me under duress. And now I know Fincher, of course, I know he doesn't do anything under duress. He does exactly what he wants at all times. It was a bit like going into an MRI scanner, I think, meeting Fincher. It was like sort of scanning my whole sort of brain and body and, you know, probably checking whether I had the balls to play this part and whether I was sort of some overprotected English flower who wasn't prepared to get her hands dirty and all that stuff. But yes, it was the happiest professional experience of my life, getting this part, because, you know, someone is giving you the chance to say, okay, you haven't done this before, and I want to see where you can go. And that's, you know, that's what you crave. And too often people are saying, can you do that thing again? You know, can you give us what you gave in that film? So this was just brilliant.
And how much contact did you have with novelist Gillian Flynn to discuss Amy?
Gillian was around. She obviously did the screenplay for our film, and her and David were a complete meeting of minds, which meant that there was this very happy dynamic and process. I mean, I think Gillian was thrilled that David was at the helm of this movie. And yeah, she did help me get inside Amy's head. She gave me some clues as to the books she was reading as she was writing the story, some music she was listening to. She was great.
I know Gillian says that she has a sign above her desk in her basement office that says, leave the crazy downstairs. How did you find leaving the character behind each day as you left set? And did you have any rituals to sort of try and shake her off?
Well, I have a small son, which does help, because you arrive home and you can't stay in your head. You know, you get down on the floor and you're starting playing with Lego or whatever, which definitely, you know, helps when you're playing, you know, playing out these toxic dynamics within a marriage. And this film, obviously, you know, there are moments of physical violence and moments of psychological violence. And in some ways, although the physical violence looks more terrifying when you see the film, the psychologically violent scenes are the ones that leave you most scarred. Because I think often your body releases all the chemicals that it would release if those scenes were real. And so you can feel, in a way, emotionally hungover from them.
And what was it like creating that very interesting on-screen marriage with Ben Affleck? And did you have opportunity to sort of to discuss the characters together?
Ben and I had a good period of rehearsal and worked out that dynamics. I mean, we never became too close. It's interesting because there's no real space in the end in this movie for romance. Although, you know, we did play the early parts of the relationship, and there was a sort of lovely, you know, delicious sort of flirtatious nature to those scenes. But when you've experienced the movie, you realise that, you know, the whole atmosphere is so wonderfully oppressive and intriguing that those scenes you sort of look at with some suspicion, because you kind of know things are about to go horribly wrong.
And David Fincher has said he wants this to be the date movie that will end in 15 million divorces. Would you advise couples to go and see it together?
I would advise couples to go. I mean, I think this is the kind of movie that adults crave. You know, it's an adult event movie that you want to see in the cinema, you want to be there and experience it, you know, with other couples who are dissecting their own relationships as they sit in the cinema. I think it's you know, because as well as being a thriller, it really is a social satire. It's looking at our narcissistic culture and the way the media manipulates us and the way that we've all been trained to sort of manipulate ourselves to be liked. You know, it's the mass culture that we see in the media, and then, you know, Facebook and all these social networking devices allow us to edit our lives more favourably, come across to strangers as slightly different than we are. And that is the world in which Gillian sets her book, and that's why you might end up sitting next to your partner wondering, how well do I really know this person?
Rosamund Pike, thanks very much. Congratulations on Gone Girl.
Okay, thank you.